He walked in like a king and walked out like a ghost. Was this the fight that ended Israel Adesanya's reign for good? At one point, Israel Adesanya was seen as untouchable, the slickest, smartest, and most dominant striker the UFC had ever seen at middleweight. But every legend hits a wall, and this was the crash that nobody saw coming. In this video, we break down the fight that didn't just beat Adesanya, it buried him. The loss that shifted the narrative from he's the next Anderson Silva to is it already over? We're diving deep into the build-up, the mindset, and the pressure Israel carried into this fight, and why it might have been the one that truly broke him, not just physically, but mentally. It's easy to call it just a bad night. Fighters lose all the time. But when it comes to Israel Adesanya, the loss to Alex Pereira at UFC 281 wasn't just a bump in the road, it was a major turning point. Let's rewind. At that moment, Izzy wasn't just a champion. He was the guy, untouchable, tactical, one of the most precise strikers the UFC had ever seen. But when he lost to Pereira in the 5th round, after clearly winning the majority of the fight, something cracked. And it wasn't just his jaw, it was the start of doubt. Sure, he bounced back in the rematch. He beat Pereira and did it with style. But here's where it gets interesting. Even in victory, something felt different. His swagger was there, but that icy, bulletproof aura, not quite. Then came Sean Strickland, a fight where Izzy was expected to cruise. Instead, he looked off, flat, no rhythm, no urgency. It wasn't just that he lost, it's how he lost. One-sided, outclassed, and worst of all, emotionally checked out. That's not the Izzy we knew. And it wasn't just one fight. After that came the Dricus du Plessis bout. And again, Izzy wasn't himself. No killer instinct, no precision, just frustration, fatigue, and eventually, so was Pereira just a tough matchup? No doubt. But this wasn't a one-time slip. This was the start of a slide, a psychological one. And the truth is, once that mental edge is gone, it's the hardest thing to get back, especially when the world's watching, and your old rivals are now 2 division champions. This wasn't just a bad night, it was the first domino. There was a time when the name Israel Adesanya meant something very specific in the middleweight division. Range control, feints, lightning-fast counters, and the ability to make even the most dangerous contenders look average. From his UFC debut through the Costa fight, Izzy wasn't just a puzzle, he was the whole damn riddle. Fighters couldn't close the distance, couldn't read the patterns, couldn't keep up with the timing, and that worked for a while. But every era has an expiration date, and now it seems like the blueprint is out there. The first major crack came with Jan Blachowicz. Sure, it was at light heavyweight, and the size difference was obvious, but the lesson stuck. Close the distance, wrestle, grind, make it ugly. Then came Alex Pereira, the real turning point. Pereira didn't care about the feints, he didn't freeze. He walked Adesanya down, he forced exchanges, and he did it without fear because he'd already knocked Izzy out once before. That loss changed everything. For the first time, Adesanya looked human. Not because he lost, but because we finally saw what worked against him. Pressure, physicality, simplicity. No need for a flashy skill set, just a clear plan to disrupt his rhythm. Then came Sean Strickland. On paper, the most unorthodox threat Adesanya had ever faced, and not in a good way. No explosive speed, no crazy athleticism, just basic fundamentals, an iron chin, and constant pressure. But what he did better than anyone before him was this. He didn't freeze. He didn't get hypnotized by the feints. He didn't overreact. And that's where Izzy's game has always fed, off your hesitation. Strickland neutralized the mind games. He took away the spacing. He jabbed. He pushed. And by round 1, Izzy looked like a man with no plan B. And then Dricus du Plessis. Yet another fighter who didn't come to play the Adesanya game. He came to force his own. He mixed in grappling. He kept the pace high. He made Izzy uncomfortable in the clinch, in transitions, even on the feet. And, for the second straight time, Adesanya folded under that kind of pressure. So, has the division figured him out? It sure looks like it. He built an empire on controlling chaos. But now, the chaos is being brought to him. The timing, the setups, the slick counters, they're still there. But opponents are no longer waiting around for them. They're crowding his kicks, They're not reacting to his feints. They're walking him down with confidence. That's the difference. In combat sports, perception matters. And right now, the aura's gone. Izzy still has the skill, but the blueprint has been written, and fighters are reading it closely. This is the question everyone's been asking. Is the Last Stylebender still in there? Not just the fighter, but the presence. The guy who danced his way into title fights and dismantled the best in the world with a smirk on his face. The version of Izzy who ran through Whitaker, embarrassed Costa, and made 5-round fights feel like exhibitions. Can that version come back? Physically, Israel Adesanya is still elite. At 34, his frame is built for longevity. Long limbs, efficient movement, no history of brutal wars that usually shorten careers. His timing, when he's on, is still better than most in the division. His striking IQ, top tier. If it were just about technique, the answer would be easy. Yes, he can come back. But this isn't just about tools, it's about the fire. After the loss to Pereira, we saw a glimpse of the old Izzy in their rematch. The celebration was loud, emotional, maybe even personal. It felt like a man who had just silenced demons, not just an opponent. But what happened after that? He rushed back into a title defense against Sean Strickland. A fight that, in hindsight, he wasn't ready for. No tune-up, no time to reset mentally. Just straight back to work, business as usual. Except, something was off. And now, after the loss to Du Plessis, it's no longer just off, it's real. A second straight loss, a clear finish, and most telling of all, Izzy went quiet. No post-fight conference, no flashy lines, no excuses, just silence. That silence says more than words ever could. And here's the truth most people won't say out loud. Confidence is the first to go. When you build your game around being untouchable, around controlling everything, what happens when fighters stop playing along, when they don't give you the space, when they walk right into your storm and keep swinging? That's what Izzy's dealing with right now. But don't count him out. This is a fighter who's always responded to adversity with evolution. After losing to Pereira the first time, he rebuilt, he adapted, he finished him the next time. That shows he can grow, he can change. But the real question is, does he want to anymore? Does Israel Adesanya still have the desire to prove he's the best? Or is he content with what he's already accomplished? He's already headlined multiple pay-per-views, held the belt, fought legends, made millions. He's got nothing left to prove to the fans. But if there's one thing that could bring the fire back, it's doubt. The world is doubting him now. The division's moved on. And if Izzy is still that guy, still the artist, still the showman, still the killer, then this is the moment we find out. So, can he be the same again? Number. But maybe, just maybe, he can be something even better. So here we are. From the highest highs to the most humbling defeats, the story of Israel. Adesanya isn't just about fighting, it's about legacy, confidence, vulnerability, and above all, the pressure of staying on top when the world expects perfection. Izzy has done what 99% of fighters only dream about, but now he's at a crossroads, not just in his career, but in how he wants to be remembered. Does he walk away with his legacy untouched? Or does he step back in that cage and prove that greatness isn't about never falling? It's about standing back up when no one believes you can. Because if Adesanya rises again, after the losses, the doubt, the silence, it won't just be a comeback. It'll be one of the greatest stories in MMA history. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Is the Last Stylebender done, or is this just the beginning of his next evolution? Drop your take in the comments. Hit the like if this breakdown hit you differently, and subscribe, because this isn't the end of the story. It's the start of something much bigger, of something